Welcome to Champ Talk with Branden Hudson. I am back, and I am super excited about today's guest. But first, you know, like all episodes, we got to ask you, like, comment, subscribe. Okay, I don't care what platform you are. It would be a really big favor if you went to all of the platforms and all of the subscriptions, and plus really left me a comment. That just helps us get recognized more. Champ Talk is free. We don't ask for sponsor money. We try to give as much value to our listeners and to the world as possible. And if you know anybody that would get value out of this this episode, please share it, send it to them, let them see it, ask for a review. You know what I mean? We want to hear about what we can do better, what we can do worse. I read all the comments. I know I'm not supposed to, but I love it. You know, I get caught up into that shit. But yes, please like and subscribe. But I'm super excited about today's episode because, in my opinion, I think I've got one of, you know, the OGs and like kind of like the Eastern Shore royalty when it comes to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu on. In my humble opinion, you know, this is Branden Hudson, Champ Talk's opinion. You know, you say what you want. I think that this gym has the toughest jiu-jitsu room on the Eastern Shore. I've been admiring them from afar for a long time. I've not had the chance to train with them. But I'll get into further all that good stuff as we go. But yes, I want to introduce Jordan Geyer, the owner of SoDel Jiu-Jitsu. How you doing, brother?
Good, man. What's up? How are you?
Good, man. Doing real good. Yeah, man. I think, man, just, you know, and I'm not saying this because you're here. We've competed against each other in a couple of gym wars. We've had some of your guys have visited. My guys have visited. You've been very hospitable to a lot of my guys that come over there, and you know they want to do MMA, bro. Yep. And I think you have the toughest room on the shore, man.
I really appreciate it, man. I got a lot of guys that work hard. We might not have the biggest room, but you look at our pictures of what we post tonight. It's the same guys every day, and we work hard. Everyone there's super respectful, but when it comes time to train, my guys are fucking animals.
They are, dude. They are, dude. I had a blue belt. You had a blue belt come in here and like tone me up. I'm like, Jesus, man. I'm just a hobbyist, you know.
Yeah. No, I mean, I tried to hold them to a high standard. I got different goal. We got guys in there that are recreational, and we got guys that want to compete. Well, I'd say we're 50-50, but you know, it sets a high standard in there. I expect a lot out of everybody, but I think the most important thing is everyone there loves jiu-jitsu. Yeah. And I think that's what makes people good. I don't think it's necessarily like, you know, having the most natural talent. I think it's people who love jiu-jitsu the most are the ones that are going to stick around the longest, and sticking around is what actually builds that. And I think that's what we've built is a gym that people want to come to and keep getting better and better.
No, absolutely, man. Everybody visits, talks about going up there. I push everybody to go up there. You're, if you guys don't know, you're located in Lewis, correct?
Yep, in Lewis,
Delaware. And I mean, I like a lot of things about your gym, man. And, you know, it's the standard. It's, you know, you don't see people being rushed through, you know, you see, I've seen how you've kind of pivoted with how jiu-jitsu has been. And again, this is all from afar. You know, I pay attention to everybody. I look at everybody. I'm always trying to be a student, you know what I mean? Like I don't, even some of the guys and gals I don't agree with, you know what I mean? I'm always looking at what they're doing and how they're doing it. And I tip my hat, and nobody's reinventing the wheel here. We're all doing the same thing. But the thing that I love about your gym, other than the quality, is like, you can tell that the culture is all ran by consistency, right? In other words, you don't ever hear any drama out of that gym. All your dudes that have come through have been super respectful, straight dogs, and like the nicest guys ever. You know what I mean? And it's just like a consistency that I think that you run that makes that program really solid. And I mean, again, you know, we've competed against you. I watch you guys win. I watch you guys compete, and it's really cool to see that level here on the Eastern Shore. You know what I mean? Definitely.
I've been very lucky to have guys that have moved here that have helped build my program and have the same vision, I would say. Like I said, it's about just loving the sport and wanting to be good at it, and wanting to help other people be good at it, because you don't get good by yourself. You get good by having good training partners. And I think that's the hard part is building the room, because if you don't have high level guys to go with that have common goals, it's in it for yourself, and that's going to be a problem in the long run. So I think really cultivating that culture, having a place people want to go into, like. I say we train tough, but I don't want people to be coming in and they're like actually dreading the workout, you know? Like I want you, like, this should be your time of the day that you're like, this is your release. This is fun. This is like what we want to do. And then, then you have the guys that have been there for longer, and that's what you're looking for those guys to aspire to be. You want to have those levels in the room. Like, I want people to look up to me, but then below me, and even I say below me, but there's guys in there that are smashing me now. I'm getting older, and I got some guys that have moved here that are very good. And it's just nice that they all have, everyone can have like the person they look up to in there, they can go to for questions, and it's an open room. I really like studying the Western or the Eastern style of training, like in Russia with how they do wrestling and stuff like that. And it's just kids of all ages and stuff like that in a big room. And you know, and they're just being able to go up to these guys that are just levels above and have more knowledge. And it's a trickle down effect. And I just think it's a nice way to have it. And secondly, I don't like thinking of myself as like, I am the leader, but I don't want I'm not the end all be all. There's other answers out there. There's not just my way. I like having the cross training so people can go see what else is out there. We have, all my open mats, you'll see it every week. Free open mat, all visitors. And it's not a challenge. It's a way for information to come in because we are kind of far away from other big gyms and stuff like that. So I encourage my people to go other places and where we might not have the population that I'm just constantly bringing new people in. I am very beneficial that in the summer we're getting visitors from all the major cities. I mean, I get people from Henzo's, from Marcelo's, 50/50, all these gyms that have these big name people coming in that we can ask questions to. And I don't want to say test yourself because that makes it sound like we're challenging again, but like you do get an idea. You do see that your belt level is matching up with these big gyms for the most part. There's outliers. There's dudes that are world champions that are going to come in and blue belts are going to smash black belts and just the way it is. Yeah. But and the overall thing is that you're constantly getting measured and you can see where we are. Where do we need to make changes? What's happening? There's no running from it. Like you have a direct feedback always of people coming in, and if someone there can't answer your question, we'll try to figure it out. And that's kind of how we teach there. I feel like, and not necessarily teach, but the way we develop our people from the ground up, I would say. Yeah, it shows, man. And I love that. There's a lot of commonalities between, your philosophies and my philosophies as well. Because, when I started, I was a blue belt, right? And it cringes thinking about that I was a gym owner at blue belt, but we had nobody else. Yeah. Like I had to do what I had to do. And I was always MMA. Like my passion and still love is for MMA. Yep. But as I, went down the rabbit hole of jiu-jitsu, man, it just, you started really loving jiu-jitsu and what it did and what it does for you. And, for me, I don't want to be, there are times I'm the highest belt in the room and I'm the highest rank, and it's been like that for a long time. Now we, again, specialize in cage fights, and, I can get you a local championship. I'm confident in that. I can even get you a regional pro championship, but, when it comes to the jiu-jitsu, that's a part where, I think the same way, man. Like go out and get it, go out and search it, open a door invitation. And you've been running, you've owned SoDel for pushing 19 years, right? Yeah, like 2011-ish. So we're probably, like 15 years or so right now. Who did you start under? I started under a guy named Jeff Hunt, kind of like a not huge name or anything like that. But, I give Jeff a lot of credit. He's my coach today, actually. So I'll give you a little brief rundown. I started with him and he's the one that made me love jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Great conceptual teacher, and just could give you the shit when just like talk shit when you're training and stuff like that, but just made it felt like a club almost. But when I first started jiu-jitsu, I wanted to learn how to fight, and I did Muay Thai, I did jiu-jitsu, we did it all there. And, then you go to we were downtown Trolley Square. So there's lots of bars, lots of nightlife. Where's this? So in Wilmington. Okay. It's like right outside of, it's like a suburb of Wilmington, kind of but it's like a little 1 square mile area of like night bars, restaurants and stuff like that. And that's where the gym was. So I was at school at UAD. I chose to go here. And you would go train at night and then you go out to the bars and stuff like that. And I don't want to sound like an old man, but back then this was before you could get in a bar fight and not have to worry about a lawsuit or getting stabbed or shot immediately or something like that. Not saying that didn't happen and it was a smart thing to do, but I would go out and these guys that I trained with were fucking monsters, dude. Anyone that talk shit or anything, they would just destroy them. And you got to see the art in full effect. Right. Real time. It made you believe in it. It wasn't just rolling around the mat with a bunch of dudes. No, these dudes were out smoking people using pure jiu-jitsu, at the bar, small guys beating up big guys, and that opened my eyes to, wow, that's cool. I don't necessarily want to go out of my way to be able to do that, but if that situation happens to me, I want to be able to do that to somebody. Absolutely. So Jeff owned the gym for about a year, and then he was in his late 20s, and he was still having a good time with his life, and I think the gym just got to be too much for him. Mm-hmm. So we sold it to a guy named Ken Mola. Ken was the original Facebook page for jiu-jitsu. I love BJJ on Facebook. And if you ever go back on the videos, I was always the demonstrating partner in that time. So I always say that Jeff taught me made me love jiu-jitsu, but Ken's the one that taught me how to study jiu-jitsu if you wanted to be good at something. He was a former D1 wrestler, traveled to Brazil, traveled to California, just constantly just completely obsessed with jiu-jitsu.
And what year was this when you were training?
I started in 2007.
Okay, yeah.
So 2008, 2009 would have been when Ken took over. And I trained with him for about 4 years straight. I would train with Jeff on the side some, but he just didn't have a gym anymore. And so then I trained with Ken for a while. And when I started jiu-jitsu, I had no intentions of competing or anything like that. I wanted to learn how to fight. But then I did a competition when Jeff was there, because like I said, it was like a club. All your friends are doing it.
Right.
There's somebody who could do it. But then Ken really pushed us to compete. I mean, it was like I said, coming from a D1 background, I mean, you guys be here at 5 a.m. We're going to run sprints across the street. Then we're going to train. Then you're going to come back in the afternoon. We're going to train more. And I loved it for a while. Like, I was training jiu-jitsu 2 to 3 times a day, 6 days a week. And I moved I was going to school at UD on campus, and I actually moved to Trolley about 20 minutes away so I could walk to the gym every day. Oh, wow. And then was driving to school and walking to the gym rather than vice versa, how it was before. But then probably a little after I got my purple belt, I started to I was getting, in my mid 20s, and it was kind of like, all right, I'm from the beach area, Milford and Rehoboth. Do you want to, where are you going to start settling down at and doing that? And it was a tough decision, because at the time the jiu-jitsu was limited down here. Miles had his gym, but that was still an hour and a half south of me. Yep. So that was and an hour and a half was the same distance to Wilmington. So I'm going to drive back to my coach, obviously, if I have the choice of the two. And there was a gym in Lewis. The guy was ranked lower than me. Nice guy, but the level wasn't there. And I would train there and then drive up to Wilmington sometimes. But I eventually decided that I wanted to be down here. I didn't stop training up there, but after a while, driving an hour and a half every day to train is rough. It's just a lot, especially when you're trying to build a career down here. I was working as a rental agent and bartending, and then training, and then after a while of training and not being happy with the training, I kind of started driving to another gym that was 40 minutes away. That was an MMA gym, and I liked it, but it was, again, driving 40 minutes and that wasn't even the level that I really wanted. Those guys were more aggressive, which I liked, but the skill level wasn't quite what I had been used to with Ken and stuff up in Wilmington, being right outside of Philly. All those big gyms up there, you're getting access to.
Not to cut you off, but it's like you don't want to compare and you don't want to shit on people, but like when you have that high level of training and then you have to sacrifice it does leave a sour taste in your mouth a little bit.
I was used to being in a room where it was 50% I could smash, 50% that were smashing me. Yeah. So going from a place where you're beating everybody, it's good for your ego, I guess, but but you're not getting better. Yeah. I mean,
trust me, I know.
There's ways to get better, but it's not going to happen as fast. There's no one to go to for questions. Yep. You have to do a lot more research, and then early. Even 2010, YouTube was taking off and it was getting more popular, but now I can go on YouTube, type any question I want, and I can get an answer to it pretty much immediately. Back then, it wasn't like that. You had to watch matches and try to pick out details, and a lot of the Brazilian guys that are now have all these instructionals, they didn't even speak English, or they didn't speak great English to get details from and stuff like that. So it was a lot harder to get information. You really did need a good instructor. And so that was a challenge for me at that time.
So you found a gym about 40 minutes away, and you were kind of in limbo. Yeah. And I think you were talking about, potentially settling down here and starting a career, and what was the switch to saying you were going to just do your own? And
I got tired of the driving. One of the black belts that was he was a brown belt or something at the time, and he was already hardly there. I liked the guys down there, and some of them they actually came with me once I left. But that gym ended up shutting down not long after I left anyway. And just like I said, it wasn't a jiu-jitsu gym. It was an MMA gym. I liked doing the striking and stuff, but it was more important to me to do jiu-jitsu and get good jiu-jitsu. And I told you my first instructor's name was Jeff, and he actually ended up taking a position down here, and we were kind of teaching out of a basement first, and then we opened our own place.
Oh, cool.
He was a brown belt. I was a purple belt at the time. And started off good and all that, but then he missed being up north. And he went back, and I was kind of so for a year there, I kind of was on my own teaching between basements and garages. I had one of my really good friends and who I started training with in Wilmington and moved down here. His name was Blair Cherico, and Jeff and Blair are like big brothers to me. I could do this guys with anything, and they always have helped me out. Blair gave me the mats to get started with, no charge, never asked for anything. And I was teaching out of his basement. And then his wife got pregnant, and the basement was going to be turned into another bedroom.
Right.
So she's like, all right, jiu-jitsu lessons are about done. So at that point, I had to start looking. I ended up subletting from a American jiu-jitsu, which is like I guess like a Hapkido type situation. And it was cool. But, you know, having to not do all the times I wanted and having to, I wanted my own space. I wanted my freedom. I wanted to be able to do it how I wanted to do it. And it just took a while. And I finally found the place, had a signed contract. And then the day before I was supposed to move in, the guy called me, and it was his best friend that was in the unit. He said he needed another year. Oh, man. And I had all these people lined up to sign up. So I ended up buying leasing some crap space in Milton. And it was bad. I don't think I had my guys that followed me, but I don't think I had a new member for a full year. Wow. I mean, it was no heating, no insulation. It was it was a metal can in the summer, just 120 degrees in there. It was freezing in the winter. I popped my LCL in there because it was so cold. I had sweatpants under my gi pants, like so much friction, you know. And you had to want to do jiu-jitsu to be there.
Thinking to yourself as you know, the guy who's signing the lease, like, well, at least I got a place I don't pay to train, right?
Yeah, exactly. But it was cheap. And, you know, my whole thing from the get-go was like, I watched a lot of people mess up starting too big. Yeah. Starting way too big. So I wanted like a small garage bed. I wanted 500-600 square foot, get some cheap mats down there and just have a cheap rent where I can have 5 members pay me $100 a month and we're good. Yep. Like, you know what I mean? I can keep the roof going and all that, keep the roof over my head and all that. And when I had 10 guys, that's when I made the decision. I'm like, all right, these guys aren't going anywhere. They followed me this far. Yeah. They're going to stick with me. And then a year of that, then I finally got the place I initially wanted, and I stayed there for 3 years. Okay. And then after that, I found a lot about 500 yards away from that. And I love that location. I'm on Route 9 in Lewis, on the corner of 1 and 9. So I have direct arteries to the 2 biggest roadways like in that area. So people can do a straight shot from like Milford and Dover and north, or from the west, from Georgetown and all that area. Yeah. So it was huge because like the place I was at before, it was if you think of it, it was probably a better commercial location. It was right on the highway in Rehoboth. It was a mile from my house. But all those dudes that had to come from like in beach traffic in the summer, add 30 minutes to your drive, like right there, and I lost them. So it ended up being a perfect location, but I ended up putting up a pole building on it, and you know, and then we've been there since 2015, and that's where we are today.
That's there's so much to unpack there because man, that is like the entrepreneurial business owner way that it goes. We all have this vision. And one of the things you said is, I've seen so many people start so big and go, and I was telling you this before we got on camera, you know, I was like, man, there's so many working parts with SBY, right? We were like, we were doing okay on the little spot on the 3,000 square foot. We jumped to 10 and it was just like, and I think that's when I was really getting a real crash course myself of business, you know, like holy shit, there's way more than just rolling around on the mats and teaching striking. But you unpack so many good things. You know, you've been in the business for yourself in this, you know, industry for 15 years. You've seen a lot of things change, a lot of things come and go. But to be able to take that mindset with, hey, we're in a place where, you know, getting banged up, we're freezing, we're uncomfortable. Yeah. You know, then we're going to go and we sign a lease and that don't work out. And then we have all these ups and downs. That's like that success picture where it shows the, you know, the end goal and the starting, and it's like all different directions that it's going. You've seen so much go on. You've also, you know, you were talking about how back then you were, you know, things were different, like even how you looked up information on YouTube and things like that. We've seen jiu-jitsu change a lot over the course of the past, you know, 20 years, man. And, you know, I think that there's a lot of outdated conversations that still kind of get played. No gi versus gi, no leg locks, yes leg locks. You know, they even like if you take somebody like the King Gordon Ryan, right? Yeah. You know, his perspective, like, you know, he's the greatest that we've known of that ever graced the sport, but he also, you know, admittedly does PEDs, right? So it's like, well, what he. And I actually understand his logic. He's like, hey, look, if we had one governing body that said no PEDs, right, then how about no PEDs? But since we have all these different promotions and all these different rule sets, you know, so one would say the question would be, well, how good would he have been if he didn't do PEDs? And So you've seen all these things that jiu-jitsu has had, what's your opinion based, because you've got like an old school practice about it, an old school mindset about it, what's your opinion on jiu-jitsu as a whole? You know what I mean? Like, obviously we love it and obviously we promote it, but then when you take it from where it was to learn how to fight to now it's a lot of sport fighting to now it's a lot of like CAGI, Craig Jones had to say, hey, we'll give you money if you finish because everybody's point fighting. What are your thoughts and opinions on?
I mean, to me, the jiu-jitsu I respect and like the most is something that works everywhere. Yeah. I like the guys like Damian Maia, who world champion, ADCC champion, UFC contender. Jiu-jitsu that works everywhere. Yeah. That's what I really like. And I like learning the new stuff because I never want to be the guy that has an excuse when I lose. Like, oh, I don't want to learn that new stuff. Like, no, that's weak, dude. Like you don't have to do it, but you should at least understand it so you can defend it. Agreed. Like, I never want to have like some lame ass excuse why I can't, like, why this guy's better than me. If he's better than me, he's better than me. But it's not going to be because like, I just refuse to get with the times and stuff like that. Maybe my game isn't quite so much like that. I still like leg locks and stuff like that. I've always liked leg locks. I think it's crazy to not train them. Our white belts do heel hooks day one. I just think that's too much to come back from going into like purple belt or up. And now we have to learn leg locks from scratch. You're going to get destroyed. Yeah. Like you're not going to be able to keep up and it's going to take forever for you to catch up. But I also see and I get the old school version of that because I was, it was a thing that affected me. Jeff was a very big into leg locks and, at blue belt, I was tapping higher belts with heel hooks and stuff like that. But when Ken came along, Ken was pressure passing and I quickly learned that my passing was garbage. Yeah. And now you can't even heel hook at blue belt anyway, unless you go to the advanced division where it's allowed. But realistically, you're probably not even competing with leg locks. So I think there's a balance there. But I just think you need to learn them day one, whether it's your thing or not is a whole nother thing. But I think your jiu-jitsu first and foremost, like everyone wants to do rubber guard, do the new, not rubber guard, but just the newest thing. There's always the new trendy thing. And like, dude, you need to learn close guard. You need to learn your tripod sweep. You need to learn like a basic takedown. You need to have answers for everything in the most basic sense to start with, and then have fun with it, then add on. And that's how I feel about the gi and no gi thing too. Like, I think they both build, everyone's like, oh, like the gi's boring and slow, but like I train jiu-jitsu every day and I've done it for a long time. Like it gets boring doing the same thing every day. It's nice to have like, I think I don't like the lapel game. It's not for me, but at the same time, it's same as the leg locks. I'm not going to have that be my excuse why I can't do it. I do like to learn it so I understand it, and it keeps things interesting. It's more problems to solve, and that's what's and like, if you're not having fun, if you're not learning, if it's all the same redundant stuff every day, like what's the motivation to keep doing it, I guess is, so I like the variety. And I think like the people that can find the game that can kind of answer everything, like, and then the other thing is too, it's like, you do jiu-jitsu your whole life. And if you don't even have the not necessarily MMA, but self-defense, just some basic, it's just, and you don't need a lot of it. I mean, it's basic stuff. The mechanics are there. Like if like people talk about, oh, cross collar chokes aren't realistic. Well, dude, if I have you mounted and I can cross collar choke you, I can punch you in the fucking face. Yeah. Like like there's a lot of similarities in that in those things. But if you like, I think if you like do all the then you go and get your ass kicked and you're like, it's not a good look. Yeah, You know what I mean? It's a terrible look. Like I don't think you need to like, and it's different than saying a purple belt in jiu-jitsu should just go out and win an MMA match. That's not what I'm saying. But a purple belt in jiu-jitsu should be able to go against an untrained person in a fist fight and have like a 95, 99. There's always a chance of getting hit in the head, a standard by coming in and kicking you or getting slammed. There's always a chance of that, but like there should be a fair certainty that you can control that situation and deal with it. Yeah,
and I mean, literally, you've seen this and we've all experienced. I mean, a trained jiu-jitsu practitioner, at the purple belt level at most gyms, I mean, literally plays with its food. Exactly. With an untrained, fighter.
That's like my blue belt kind of thing is like, my standards vary from person to person in the gym. My standard for the guy that comes twice a week and has 2 kids, 50 years old is not the same for my guy that's competing every weekend and training 5 days a week. But the one thing I will have common goal for blue belt is I'm not giving you a blue belt if I don't feel like you could not even win a fight, defend yourself in a fight, like not get your head like split open. Like,
Totally agree.
You know what I mean? So that's
Totally
kind of like my benchmark, my bare minimum for a blue belt is, can you survive a fight?
Yeah, totally agree. I love what you said there, because there was a lot of layers there. You know what I mean? And you know, I think that the overall thing that I'm hearing and I agree with is like, okay, if you've done jiu-jitsu long enough, you've all been into that phase where you're going to the same half guard, to the same, you know, full guard, to the same mount. You're doing the same roll over and over again. Mm-hmm. And in order to keep it interesting, in order to continue to challenge yourself and really appreciate the art, you have to mix it up. You have to, and dude, it's so crazy because so many people want to spend so much time fighting and arguing. You know, I heard I've always thought it was the blue belt. I always thought the blue belt was the problem, right? Because you got a blue belt that, you know what I mean, they learn enough that they can defend themselves. They're doing some good stuff in training, and they think they're the best, but they don't know nothing. There's always all the memes about it and everything. But then you add the 20 and the 30-year-olds where they have this such passionate, young, you know, opinionated stance on it that they want to chase every shiny object that's around. Yep. But I also heard that some of the most fragile egos are your black belts. You know what I mean? Because you know they're just so you know they've lived on that peak for so long, or they've chased that imaginary dragon so long that they're some of the most sensitive people. But in all, and I agree with you, keeping it interesting and eliminating the bickering about shit that doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, who gives a fuck? You can't cheat it on the mats. Yeah. You can't cheat who you are. You can't cheat what you do on the mats. You got to show up. You got to come in. You know, they talk about the new guy. I don't know his name, but he's the billionaire that just got his black belt. Yeah. And everybody's like losing their mind about this guy. And I'm just like, who fucking cares?
He's only existing because they're giving him the time of day.
Yes.
Like you know what I mean? Just ignore him. The dude will go away. He's doing it to break into a new demographic. Like, just leave the more you mention this guy, you're giving him all publicity is good publicity for this guy. I mean, it doesn't take long to look the guy up if you were serious about considering doing something with this guy that is like, you know, maybe you want to avoid this guy, but but they're giving it life. And that's how I feel about a lot of things in jiu-jitsu and just the overall times with like Reddit and stuff like that. People whose opinion, if you knew them in real life, you would never give a shit what they said. Yep, but like online, you know, like anyone can talk with authority. Yep. And it's like, you know, I think jiu-jitsu's helped me see that. Like, it's been one of the things that's like, you know, you see people that you know if you've done jiu-jitsu with, and they have the instructional channels and stuff like that, and you're like, I would never take fucking advice from that guy, but they have 30,000 followers or something like that, and you're like, man, like, you know, it really puts things into perspective. Like, do your research on who these people are. But yeah, to get to what you said, like, just let that guy die. Like, just let let him go do his own thing. Just let it die. Like, just forget about him, and he'll go away. You know. Like, I agree, man. And I've always said this, you know, I'm big on social media marketing. I'm big on, you know, when I started my gym, and I was telling you about this, man, I wish I was skill level first, but it was passion first, you know, and I had a passion for it. And the difference, you know, with me is, you know, I had some life-changing experiences, and you know, I didn't have a real skill in life. I didn't have a trade, you know what I mean? I could do sales, but where I was at and where that changing moment was happening in my life, you know, I didn't have time to go, you know, sell cars or try to get into real estate. You know, I had 3 kids. We had to pay the bills now. You know what I mean? We're already in the red. And I, you know, being a personal trainer and training fighters was like my closest thing that I thought I was good at. And so, you know, I do a lot of social media marketing, but I tell, and I teach people social media marketing as well in the real estate field that we're in and things like that. And I tell them all the time, all these millions of followers don't mean shit if you ain't doing business with none of them. Yeah. You know, you can have a strong organic following with, you know, 4,000, 5,000, 3,000 people. And if you're doing business with 30 or 10, 20, 30% of that, you know, you're making a solid income and you're affecting the people that you're directly impacting, you know, your organic following. But yeah, I mean, you give more life to stuff, these influencers and these people that are online. It's like, I'm just so shocked that people are still today easily fooled, you know what I mean? By social media and things like that. And I've said things online that, you know what I mean? Like, oh man, I probably should have said that, or I could have said that differently. You know what I mean? Where it's like, you know, you just grow as a human and you evolve. But I think constantly arguing about these jiu-jitsu and who's this and who's that and all that, you're just wasting so much time and ultimately devaluing it for the people that are looking to get into it and things like that. Yep. So man, what would you, if you were talking to, say, a guy or gal that's, you know, starting to open up a gym and, you know, they're looking to get into it. Maybe they're in a similar situation. Maybe it wasn't always a dream of theirs.
what are some of the things that you would have done differently starting off, or what have you done differently now, or things like that?
Man, I'm a unique situation. I'm like very happy with mine. I've been able to, we've talked about me and you all on the side. I own my gym and I own that. So it's given me more freedom than some people might have, like with renting a space. Like you and I were talking earlier, we've started our jiu-jitsu gyms very different ways.
Yeah.
And so, my opinion is to start small. We talked about this earlier. I've seen fitness gyms, I've seen restaurants, I've just seen every aspect of people just want to start so big, but then you're just setting yourself up for failure. Your grand opening, you're going to have a lot of people, but you know how many of those people are going to stick and sign up and be there for more than a month?
Not many.
You know how many it's going to be. It's not a lot. And now you're standing down looking at these fixed bills and you're like, holy shit, what am I going to do? So I think it's just better to start. You don't need a big fancy, when I built my building, I was like, how cheap can I do this? Give me some drywall, give me some concrete floors. I'm gonna put some mats over them anyway. I need a minimum of a bathroom and electric, and that's it. And it's worked. Could I have grown faster? Maybe if I wasn't so frugal and wasn't so slow. Probably. I probably could do things some differently, but this isn't my only gig. Yeah. I do real estate investments and manage properties and things like that. And this is more of a passion thing for me. Mm-hmm. So, my view is different than yours. Like you're saying, you had to make income like that. Whereas I was like, I have income coming in separately. This is more of a passion project. I wanted to build, but I need a low risk. Yeah. I need low risk that I'm not making that much money. I'm not willing to lose it on this right away. And I think that's kind of, my dad's an investor and a developer too. And my dad's a very safe player. And I think that kind of rolled over into me with how I look at investments. And that's kind of how I looked at my gym. It was a real estate investment that I also was able to, have an owner occupied business and stuff like that.
And I think you said something important too, is when we were off camera, it's still got to be fun. Yeah. And whenever you jump and let me tell you something, look, I was one, regardless if I started on passion or not, we've got a lot of cool stuff. It's really fancy and everything, but dude, I 100% would have done it that way. I would have started off small. Yeah. And we tried to start off small, but I think the mistake that I made, and it worked out. So I don't think it's a mistake. I think, let me rephrase my words. I think that the stress commitment and the amount of pull that I face and lessons that I've learned was from having so many different programs with so many different coaches with so many, you think of it like, man, we have all these guys under one roof. We could create the ultimate, fighter and not realizing human psychology and how people, tend to be on, be off, things they go through, things that happen in life. But yeah, I agree with you 100%. I definitely would have went so much smaller and so much simpler because, you've got to have some fucking tough skin to be in this business anyway.
And I think the difference between how we have to go about it is demographics also. I live in Rehoboth Beach, Lewis area, and it's a small population. Our population gets bigger in the summer, but that's not good. That doesn't make a difference to my people. I need year-round members. The drop-ins, I most people come in for their first drop-in free. I just want them in there, and $20 ain't going to make or break my break my week. But we're getting more people moving to the area, but they're mostly retirees. There's less young. You have a college right there. You have a more of a city than what I'm coming from. So you have a bigger population to draw off of. I feel like so it would be okay to start a little bit bigger than I did. Things are changing in Rehoboth and Lewis, but it's still a much smaller population to draw from, year-round population and younger population than what Salisbury would be. Yeah, in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah, and just for me to you, man, kids. Kids are my. I love training adults, and I love the fighting aspect. I love a lot of that. But man, I'll tell you what, dude. And as much as they're gonna get mad at me for saying this, they're a fucking pain in the ass, dude. Mm-hmm. Adults are a pain in the ass, because. Your fucking water fountain's broken. They want to, leave you and get mad. And there's just so many egos. And I don't mean egos about hey, I'm trying to prove myself. I mean, just egos with you have to be wrong for me to be right. Yeah. And the climate of the country and where we're at now and stuff like that. Everything's so sensitive. But with kids, man, they need jiu-jitsu. They need combat sports, man. And they're sponges. And I was I really didn't want to teach. We had an older instructor we were talking about that, we no longer had. And that's when me and another coach had to take over the kids program. And we literally took over 3 people because when we absorbed Miles's company and he came on board, he had about 50 kids, and then that program dwindled.
Yeah.
We didn't have the right fit for the kids instructor, right? So when Sean and I took it over, we really focused on kids, and I really didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And then when I did it, I fell in love with them, dude. Like, I was just like, dude, I love these little motherfuckers because they're fun.
Yeah.
I'm a show off anyway. Like, I feel like I'm on comedy shows, so I'm busting jokes in front of them that are good for the kids and the adults at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's just good. But man, that's been a great thing because one, you get to take an athlete and mold them from the beginning.
Definitely.
You're leaving such an impact on them. You know what I mean? And then on top of that, their parents want them to stay. They want them to get out off the screens. They want to get out of the house. They want them to. There's a lot of homeschooled kids nowadays that don't have the interaction and things like that. So that's been a big help for us. And
we've just started our kids program now, and I'm not involved in that. Not involved in the fact that I'm not teaching right now for that. Not so much that it's I don't want to do it. It's a time.
Yeah.
It's
well, you got
time.
small kids.
I got 2 little kids at home. I got one going on 5 in November and one that just turned 3. So.
You do love pain.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm doing a little bit of jiu-jitsu with them at home. They're still, they got 15 minutes in them, and then it's hard to focus. So I haven't really brought them to too many classes yet because they're a distraction to some of the older kids in there. And I'm just like, at this point, I just want them to like jiu-jitsu. If I feel like I have to force them to come in there, then they're not even going to want to do it. And right now, when we go to the gym with Daddy, it's the TV's on. We'll do a few drills. We'll do. I got like agility kit. We'll do some of that stuff. And they just have fun. They're excited to go do jiu-jitsu. And at 3 and 5, that's what I want. I'm not trying to make my kid a world champion. I want my kid to be well-rounded and not even in the in talks of just sports, but just in some dudes that are just so focused on jiu-jitsu, they have no social skills, no nothing. And I just don't think that's the way to be. I mean, you can't do jiu-jitsu forever.
Right.
And I've seen guys that are great at jiu-jitsu, but then they go to open a gym and they just don't have the social skills to keep people there. People don't want to they just don't know how to talk to people. And I think that's such a huge part of it.
No, absolutely. I get all the time, I bet you can't wait till your son can fight. My son is not fighting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's got to go against an animal like me, right? I didn't grow up in a cul-de-sac. I grew up in a trailer park. He grows up in a cul-de-sac. No, he's going to be an accountant. He's going to do something fun with his leg. He'll train. But oh my gosh, I dread if my son wants to fight because it's just not. Like you said, it's you can't do it forever, and it's having those skills, man. Having to be able to talk to people and communicate with people, and one of the things, man, I really, and I don't know how you feel about this. One of the things that just drives me crazy about our industry. There's a lot of stuff with really bad things that happen that you hear about these schools and unfortunate bits. But take that away. Obviously, that's heinous. But man, a lot of people get lost in their own press clippings. Man, these guys, they learn how to do jiu-jitsu, learn how to do Muay Thai, kickboxing, and I'm all about a motivational speech. I'm all about lifting people up, encouraging people. But I'm a leader. You know what I mean? And like yourself, this is the role we chose to do. And I'm not going to talk any more that I don't know, right? But I've seen so many times where instructors want to tell everybody how to do their jobs and how to live life and all these things, and they can't balance a checkbook, and they're living out of their mom's basements. Guy, you know what I mean? You're not just because you're the jiu-jitsu instructor and you're really good at that does not mean that you're the life instructor and things like that.
That's a common theme is the guys that are good at one thing think they're good at everything. Correct. And it's just dude, you're good at jiu-jitsu, but you now you're going to preach me about politics and stuff like that. Yeah. Get out of here. And I mean, and then you got there's one person who got a gym on the East Coast. I don't even know where it is. I don't really know them that well, but they would just pop up every once in a while and people would be talking about getting members. They always would get on people's case you got to do the the script when people call you and you got to give them the hard sell and stuff like that. It's dude, the day I got to do that shit is I don't want to do it. And there's more than one way to skin a cat. You don't have to have a gym with 1 million people to be successful. I probably have way less people than most people, but what's success? I own the dirt that my gym's on. I own my gym. Yes, I have rentals coming in off of it. Yeah, you might have more members, but I have freedom.
And you're still changing lives. Let's always.
And I can teach how I want to teach. Yes. I'm not having to just do whatever I have to do to get someone in the door. I can really teach to people that are coming to me because they want to come to me, and I can really help them. And I think that's why it's hard for newer people at my gym right now, is because There's no easy way.
Yeah.
You're going to get your ass kicked the first few times you come to my gym. People will be very nice. They will help you every inch of the way, but it's going to be very hard. If you got to survive that first month, but you just got to make it a pattern and you got to stick through it. But you know what I always tell people, I said, if you came in here and you fucked up everyone in here the first day, what would be the point of paying me $100 a month? Like, what did you expect? What did you think was going to happen when you walked in here? Did you think you were going to come show me something I've never seen before? Your rage was going to like take you through this? Like, no, dude. Like, so, you know, I think that's a big part of it too, is just like, there's more than one way to do it. And like, you wouldn't see me going on social media and saying like, my gym's the best, my gym will destroy your gym. Because I don't have the credentials in terms of competitive accomplishments that I feel like my opinion is more valuable than anybody else's. I think I can offer you something, and I think that the value, if you come to my gym, you'll see it. Yep. And like, I'm not worried about what other people do. I'm happy with what I'm doing, and I think if you come to my gym, I've had people that have left my gym for jobs and stuff like that and gone to like, I would say top 10 gyms on the East Coast, like, you know, the gyms that are producing world champions and stuff like that. And they tell me they miss the environment at our gym. Yep. Like, they're like, yeah, like there's some really good guys here, but the overall room isn't that much better. It's a crowded room where you don't feel like you know anybody. Like, and they miss like that feeling and the layout of ours, and that makes you feel good and like and all that. But it just goes to show there's more than one way to be successful in jiu-jitsu. It's not about who has the most wins, about who has the most students. Like, there's multiple ways to be successful in jiu-jitsu without having to be a world champion or having the biggest gym on the East Coast.
Dude, I totally agree with you, man. And I'm very vocal on social media. I'm not opinionated. That's the thing that it's always confused me, because I've had people that have come out of the woodworks and, you know, they don't like what I do, or they take what I'm saying online personal. I'm like, dude, like, I don't have time to worry about anybody else. Like, I'm so focused on just the coaches alone and the parents alone is more than I could, you know what I mean? Like, I could deal with. They say that like the human mind can only deal with like 50 people at a time, man. That's why like tribes back in the day were like no bigger than 50 people, because after like about 50 people, you know, you really have to stretch your capacity to really remember people and their names and all that stuff. And managing about 50 people is really manageable in like tribes. And we do have a lot of members. We do have a lot of stuff like that. But look, my mission is to improve lives. Like, that's where my vessel is. I'm not the best jiu-jitsu practitioner. I'm not the best MMA fighter. I'm not the best MMA coach. You know, I'm a white belt for life. That's the way my mind works. I'm always trying to learn. I'm always trying to get better. And I always look at somebody else that can bring something in, because, you know, although we're not reinventing the wheel, there are other ways of doing things. Like you said, skinning the cat. And, you know, for me, it's like, I've never understood why people take that so personal and take that so like, it's like, dude, success is defined how you define it.
Yeah.
You know
are you happy?
Yes.
Are you getting by? Like, you don't have to be a millionaire. Like, you know, there's trade-off in this world, and like, everyone always talks about money, but freedom, man, freedom is huge. Like, I agree. Like, I don't have I make my own schedule. I mean, I have to be at the gym, and I have to be but that's my time I look forward to. Like that's my release. That's my gym time. I mean, I love being with my kids and stuff like that, but 1-2 hours a day or per class, and you know, and that's, you know, I can't wait to get there. Like, and I'm happy when I'm there, and I'm happy when I come home too. But like that, you know, before I did jiu-jitsu, it was lifting weights for me. You got to have that thing that you're passionate about, and I just think that, like, if you're happy, there's lots of ways to achieve it, and there's lots of ways of happiness, success, all of that, and you just got to kind of find what works for you and what your priorities are. Everyone's got, my priorities may be very different than your priorities. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't need to be a billionaire. I want to have enough money that I can do what I want when I want. That's like, you know, like I said, freedom. That's like huge. If I don't want to do something like that, I don't want to do it. Like, and
we literally get to play with our friends all day. Wrestle around with our friends all day.
What do I, you know, every day I get it for my job, I get to go do my favorite thing in the world. You know, it's very liberating to be able to live that kind of lifestyle.
I agree. So, well, this conversation is flying by. You know, I have to ask, you know, I usually ask 1 or 2 questions, and the one question I already know the answer, you know, is it worth it? I mean, you've made that clear this entire show, and I appreciate you coming on my show. Any big plans for SoDel? Can we look at something? Can we look at some growth? Can we look at some other locations, or, you know, what are your plans, man?
So
without giving all the
no, they're you know, so I like I said, I own the building. I have a tenant downstairs next to us, and they're a great tenant. I don't really want to kick them out, but if, you know, I am in the process. We are going to need more space soon. So that's one option. But, rather than have to go through all the change and a renovation and that, I'd rather buy something new and use my real estate, background to get another asset and rent out the space I'm in right now and do that. And I am in talks with some different things right now that could be a possibility. Still way too preliminary to even put anything on it. Just the process for getting anything done real estate wise these days with zoning and whatever you would need to do to get that building done and getting under contract and all that is just a long ways off. But there is plans to expand and stuff in the future. I just can't give you a definite answer of what exactly that is right now.
Well, I'm sure like everybody in your area is excited to hear that, man. Because again, I've not met a person who doesn't like your gym. Who's not come out there. So, well, dude, we always do this. Where can we find you?
Yep. We are at SoDelBJJ.com. We have an Instagram. We have a Facebook. Instagram would be the best way to get a hold of me. Facebook is kind of a hard one. The messages it just don't work as well as Instagram. I'll see Instagram faster if you want something. The number on there is my cell phone, so you can text me, you can call me. I'm probably gonna regret that one, but it's easy to get a hold of me. I have my phone with me all the time. We offer free classes to check it out. We have 6 black belts on hand. We have no contracts. It's month to month. So you got nothing to lose by coming in there. And like I said, it's going to be tough, but I think it's well worth it.
Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on board, man. Yeah. Like I said, I've admired you I knew who you were, but once I started like really diving deep and training with some of your guys, and again, forgive me, I will get out there. I promise, man.
That's cool, man.
I'm not avoiding that. Just, I got a small kid too. But dude, I admire what you do, man. I love that I love that the people got to hear why. Yeah. Because I think that's really important. And, your why is really, I was not surprised at all by anything I heard because it's exactly the example that you're leading with your guys and gals, man. And this is why, you're successful and why the people are so good. So
I think, Marcelo Garcia said, like, I don't, arguably the best guy in the world at jiu-jitsu ever, one of the best. And, he'll never say he's the best or anything like that, but he's like, I don't know if I'm the best, but I love jiu-jitsu more than anybody. And that's how I feel. And that's how I want my students to feel. Like, I love jiu-jitsu. I want you to be here. This is our happy time. Let's get better at jiu-jitsu, learn a skill, make friends, and all that.
Damn right, man. Well, dude, thanks, man, for dropping in, brother. I appreciate
Thank you very much, bro.
Well, guys, look, that's another episode of Champ Talk with Champ Talk with Branden Hudson. Look, I know you got value from this episode, and if you know somebody who's starting a gym or should hear this message today, please share it with them. Let us know what you thought, and always give us a like and a subscribe. Until next time, guys, what are you doing today to become a champion?